This plane is so bogus. It's a bomber that splits into two bombers. The overall design suffers a bit as a result, I fear. It has two redundant landing gears. It has no visible jet intakes or exhausts in the combined mode. There is no tail, just a very drag-inducing ring. Not only drag, but vortex-inducing turbulence. Rings are not very aerodynamic. In combined mode, it has no engine, but rather a rear-facing pilot. I suppose he operates the twin laser cannon, which the blueprints helpfully indicate carry 3,700 laser rounds. That's aimed at the accountants-to-be, those who really counted our shots as we took them. It carries ordnance in the wings, which has the effect of making the wings really thick and unaerodynamic. It has wings set so far back on the fuselage that this must be one hell of an unstable aircraft. You see, you want your lifting surface, or wing surface, to be as close to the craft's center of gravity as possible. By putting the wing all the way at the back, all of the plane's weight is towards the fore, and so the weight of the plane is being magnified by the length of the arm, making your controls initially very sluggish, but then increasingly wild. Enough science. This design is nuts. It looks like it was inspired by a ship's anchor. But you know what? I can't put it down. Not even for a second. Maybe it's the white. It's brilliant, smooth, crisp. And contrary to some of my fellow reviewers, I think this eggshell white is firmly entrenched as a Cobra color. Joe had olive drab, tan, battleship grey, sky grey. Cobra gets all the passionate colors like black, deep blue, red, purple, and skull white. It has an eerie, spectral quality to it, especially when taken together with the bold black embellishments. In fact, in this color and with its slender look, it looks like a skeletal finger. It even has bumps in the outline where the knuckles would be.
The silhouette of the Condor does not defy its moniker. Its wide, forward-swept wings and sharp features scream bird of prey, and upon closer inspection, its Cobra heritage rings true with its serpentine features. I'm not a fan of the clear panels to allow you to see the ordnance beneath, but at least it means you can always do a quick tally to ensure you're not missing any bombs.
It has its own Condor badge, a hallmark of the line's aircraft more than any other vehicle class. And it looks kinda Native American in its design. Or maybe that's just my imagination. But tasty Cobra-style lettering drops the hint that all of the Cobra, trademark, symbols hammer home. This is Cobra's advanced strategic bomber, with an uncanny knack of shooting down Phantom X-19s. Seriously, this sticker appears 4 times. Does that mean that Condor number 7 succeeded in shooting down 16 Joe stealths? Maybe it leveled a hangar that contained Joe's full complement of Phantoms. I'd like to think that there aren't even 16 of those planes in existence, much less sent down in flames by this weird bird. It's funny, I bemoan the thick wings being used to store the ordnance, but I squeal with delight when I engage the bomb-dropping mechanism. There's nothing quite like it in the entire line.
A smooth sliding tab on the underside pushes the 7 small bombs towards a slot. Gravity does the rest. A different but equally smooth mechanism drops 7 longer bombs from the fuselage. Rotate the drum by sticking a finger through this top opening, and the bombs will fall in sequence. What makes both mechanisms so damn cool is that you control the speed at which the payload is released. You can do a quick pass over the target and unleash rapid hell, or drop a single bomb if precision is required.
The bomb feature is a lot of fun. Not so much fun is picking up all the bombs after your bombing runs. Also with age, the sliders on the wing bomb bays tend to get a bit loose, meaning that if you roll the Condor mid-flight, you may lose your load. Payload, that is.
Rounding out the ordnance are these 4 air-to-surface missiles. There is no clever mechanism for their release, but we can be grateful for that. Spring-loaded missiles was 1990's contribution. Thanks a lot, 1990. These missiles are good, have a cool hazardous material sticker which makes me wonder what kind of bombs these are. Radiological? Like a small nuke warhead? Probably not. Maybe a precursor to the toxic sludge the eco-warriors were designed to combat. Practically speaking, the tabs feel stockier than the usual, enhancing their toughness, because nothing sucks harder than a vehicle with broken missile tabs. And in spite of not being very tall, the tabs hold the missiles very securely. unlike the Sky Striker re-release of 2011.
The gun ring is weak sauce. If I was more of a competent customizer, I would ditch the ring altogether and build a pair of vertical stabilizers. Or tail fins to the lay. But it's eccentricities like the tail ring that scream Cobra. And for essentially a tail gun, it has a very impressive firing arc. Anything fore or aft is fair game. The flanks are a blind spot, but that's not really how jet combat works anyway.
Well, I happen to like the ring. How else was I supposed to wear my Condor?
Speaking of eccentricities, there is the splitter part feature. Ooh boy. So, if you can accept that a jet can split in two and the rear section that was essentially moving backwards all along can now slam itself into forward flight by blasting its engines right into the front section, as the box insert suggests, then maybe this thing could work out. Let's look at these in turn before rejoining them permanently with superglue.
Hit the nicely unobtrusive tab. Slide the inner section out of the outer sleeve, and you've got this phallic thing and a boomerang. And since we're in the territory of toy designers playing fast and loose, let's do the end at the beginning and the beginning at the end. The boomerang has the more practical aerodynamic sense, but that's not saying much. It has wings. And assuming it had ailerons, are they now on the leading edge of the wing instead of where they should be on the trailing edge? Nah, this thing maneuvers on the strength of suspension of disbelief and childlike ignorance. The missiles now face backwards, as do the bombs. But it can land believably, and that's a good thing, as we now turn our attentions to the phallus. It retains 7 bombs and the 2 missiles and 1 ballsy pilot. Ballsy because check out his landing gear. With wings this short, there's no way he can glide in at a slow speed. And with a wheelbase this narrow, he'd do just as well trying to land a bicycle. I'm thinking this is more of an escape rocket if anything. If the back section is hit, you can use this thing to fly back to friendly territory before bailing out. Because, yeah, landing is hazardous. Larry Harmer saw this toy and made a similar conclusion when he used it as an escape rocket in the pages of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, issue number 92, entitled Thunderclap. Another notable mention from the comics comes in the form of issue number 120, entitled Return to the Silent Castle, which demonstrates a further use for the Condor: psych warfare. In it, a high-flying Aeroviper is able to send signals to a brainwashed Baroness down below to activate her subliminal programming to eliminate Destro. Genius! It didn't work out, of course, because love conquers all. But it does demonstrate that the Condor has more sophisticated electronics on board than anyone could have expected.
The Condor is the first boss in the Taxan G.I. Joe video game, where the splitter part feature plays a role. You have got to love old school platform games. Where else can you bring down a formidable jet bomber with hand grenades? The plain splitter part feature and slender construction is probably to blame for it not having a clever landing gear deployment mechanism. But the landing gear is sturdy enough and locks with a satisfying click, so it isn't missed too much. For better or worse, the Condor has strong enough gear, just don't perform any sketchy landings. You know, the kind caused by a cleaner, or a cat, or a 4-year-old.
When I had first heard of the Cobra Condor, I was in 3rd grade. It was the largest G.I. Joe toy I owned as a child. My buddy was telling me how he had got one as a gift from Scotland. I then learned about its split apart feature, which to my mind sounded silly, as I imagined a lateral split across the dorsal section of the craft. Thankfully, this was not the case. We quickly arranged a visit to his house and proceeded to get our Joes out and cause all kinds of havoc with the Condor, which was great because it was 2 jets, so we could both fly around and not fight about who gets to play with the damn thing. Kids, right? And then connect the 2 parts when one of us needed to take control of the victims of its deadly assault. Needless to say, I loved the Condor at first sight and was very fortunate to have had one, as my friend gave me his as a trade for losing some of my Joes. Score! To me, the Condor is the second sexiest pair of wings in the Cobra Air Force, bested only by the indomitable Night Raven. I'm not entirely sure what powers this aircraft, but it's safe to say that it is on another level. Whatever it is must be small and generate a lot of power, and knowing Cobra, it's possibly very experimental and very dangerous. It's also clearly a low burn aircraft, in that it doesn't have any visible boosters, thrusters, or vernier. Just a lot of air intakes. So how does it work? Cobra Tech. Just say Cobra Tech. Does this mean that it could possibly have stealth capability? Quite possibly. If you believe what you read in the Aero Viper file card, it's able to outmaneuver the agile F-16 with ease.
And speaking of Aero Viper, we once again have a Cobra pilot with a gimmick. Although in the case of Aero Viper, his gimmick is that he doesn't have a gimmick. While pretty much every other Cobra pilot file card addresses some surgical enhancement to help the pilot cope better with altitude sickness or G-forces, or increase their reaction speeds, the Aero Viper is notable for having no medical meddling whatsoever. Instead, they condition their bodies through strenuous workouts, pumping iron to prep themselves for the G-forces. I imagine they have a sense of pride about it too. Only the manliest of men fly Condors. You know why? Because the studly goatee is part of the uniform. Why do you think Aero Vipers are the only Cobra jet jockeys with removable helmets? That glorious stash advertises to the world exactly what this guy does for a living. The green G-suit is well sculpted and unbusy, with just a few details picked out with gold paint. No Cobra symbol and the removable helmet makes this guy seem just a little ambiguous, but as a Cobra figure, it just enhances his uniqueness. With a compact automatic sculpted on his boot and a big barrel chest, if he doesn't manage to shoot you, he shouldn't have too much trouble pulling your head off with his powerful physique. The helmet could do with a painted visor, but if it bugs you, it wouldn't take a Pablo Picasso to add a dab of gloss black paint.
To many, the Condor is a hokey late design, arriving just in time when many of G.I. Joe's core fans started getting ready for high school or even college, meaning it was designed for the next generation of Joe fans, leaning more towards sci-fi than science fact, and also by that same token, less real and more extreme. But I feel it has an important role in both the Joe line and your collection. It's not just a jet, it's two jets, great for friends and siblings alike. Rock, paper, scissors required before play.